Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. You guys, I'm back in California. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. How the sound is. How is the sound? Can you hear me? I'm so happy to be here. Not going to Boktor. Luxembourg. Hello, Luxembourg. Hello, hello, hello. Yay, I'm so good. Good sound, good sound. Okay, I'm so excited to be here and to share this one. I'm going to give a little background of this visual that you're looking at, which is me. Hi, New Jersey. Good morning, Colorado. Mauritius, Pine Lake, Amsterdam, Switzerland, Palm Springs, Miami and Maine, Poland, South Yorkshire, UK, Indiana, Brazil, LA. I'll be in LA in a couple weeks for the Conscious Life Expo. Honolulu, I was just there. Nottingham. You guys are all over the world. I love it. Ethiopia. Hello, Ethiopia. And Denmark and Cape Town. South Dakota, Wales. Okay, aloha. Okay, let's get going. I will be in Sweden, Lisa. I'll be in Sweden at the end of March. We added that as the last one. A couple things. One, welcome to Untangled, episode 34. Untangled, I go every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I do this very raw, vulnerable series. Today will be a much more vulnerable and raw episode. I'm going to be speaking a lot about myself and what I've been going through personally in relationship. But as many of you know, I was in Hawaii for the last 25 days, staying at a beautiful friend's house. And I got home 2 nights ago and legit have been wearing this freaking hat. I literally was going to wear it during Untangled. And I was like, Lori, that might be a little too much. You might want to not look like you're in, I don't know, Antarctica. So I'm not wearing this hat, but I do have a heater on next to me. And super side note, but I really want to share with you guys, super random, has no bearing on anything that I'm about to say. Still, I'm going to share it with you. I have not brushed my hair since December 21st. I have not brushed it. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't washed it. I've conditioned it and I've washed it, but I've not brushed it since December 21st. So that is almost a month. I think that I just like, I don't know why I find it so fascinating that my hair can, like, this is what my hair would look like if I just never brushed it. I mean, granted, if I was going and doing some professional thing, I would obviously brush my hair, but I don't know. It is what it is. Oh, I wish I had some coffee. I just had my coffee. All right. So before I get going with this episode, first of all, for everybody that is new to Untangled, welcome. The reason I started Untangled, this YouTube series, is because I think and I believe and I know that it is extremely important to bring to make the uncomfortable in our lives comfortable, to talk about the things that we don't want to talk about, that we don't want to look at, that we don't want to see, that we don't want to feel, that we have for most of our lives been programmed to believe that we either need to heal and fix it quietly on our own, or we definitely don't need to look at it, don't need to talk about it, and really need to just stuff it down and just do life. And what's happening on this entire planet is quite the opposite. Everything is coming to the surface internally. Everything is coming to the surface externally. There are volcanoes upon volcanoes upon volcanoes of eruptions within us and around us, so that we can see what we have been in, so that we can see how we have been experiencing ourselves, how we have viewed ourselves, how we have believed ourselves to be in this world, and how we have seen the world around us, how we have believed the world to be around us. And both are absolute illusions. And the only way that we can quite gracefully, and maybe not so gracefully, move through this evolutionary shift in human consciousness is that we have to see what we're in. We have to see all the uncomfortable within us. We have to stop trying to fix it and change it and heal it. We have to feel it. We have to observe it. We have to acknowledge it. We have to surrender to it. We have to flow with it. We have to talk about it. Same with the external. We have to see it. We have to feel it. We have to speak about it. We have to talk about it. We have to stand up against it, right? The external and the internal are reflections of each other, right? And so it's very, very important that I can, for myself and for whoever is listening to this, that I continue to show up in the most raw, authentic, vulnerable ways, in order to remind humanity that there is nothing wrong with what we are going through. There is nothing wrong with how much more you may be feeling. There is nothing wrong with how much more you may feel like you've got nothing under control. Correct. That is exactly what it looks like. There is nothing wrong with you feeling like you don't know which direction to go. Yep, that's what it looks like as well. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you don't want to be around the people that you've been around most of your life. Yep, that's what it looks like as well. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you continue to look out in the world and your jaw drops, and you're trying to learn how to have more compassion and more empathy. Yep, that's what it looks like as well. There's nothing wrong with realizing that it makes no sense to continue to think. Your intuition is calling you back in. Your intuition is calling you back into your purest expression, right? That feeling state, and everybody around you thinks you're nuts. Yep, that's what it looks like as well, right? The list is continuing to go on and on and on. And the greatest piece about this is that for me, I've been in the spiritual community for a really long time. And I don't want to be in the spiritual community. I want to be a human walking around with the remembrance of what we're doing in this human body. I don't want to bypass into some 5D world. I don't want to bypass into some beautiful new earth that we're somehow going to find ourselves in. I don't want to bypass out of the most uncomfortable, painful, heart-wrenching, nauseating, anxiety-ridden experiences. In fact, I want to dive deeper into those and understand those so well that I'm no longer afraid of them, so that I can stand in the fire and not get burned. So I can be the warrior on the battlefield and no longer run, try to escape, or try to find solutions out of what I am inevitably going to have to stand in. None of us get out of this alive, right? So the more that I can talk about these really crunchy subjects that are like, oh, if you talk about that, then that means you're not really a great teacher. Oh, if you say things like that, then that means you still have trauma. Yeah, most humans, no matter who they are, how many followers they are, and how much money they make, they too are going through a massive evolutionary shift in human consciousness. It's a matter of whether they choose to show up and show you or not. And it's so uncomfortable that most people are not going to show you what they're going through. You know what I mean? So today we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about I'm going to be talking about I wouldn't say that I'm in a relationship, because I'm not in a relationship, but I've had I've had an experience with somebody the last couple of weeks that's relational, right? We spent a lot of time together, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about what I went through, what my experience was. And the reason I'm sharing this is because this could be relatable to you based on a friend. It can be relatable to you based on a partner, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. It could just be a friend. It could be a coworker. It could be a stranger, right? But I think it's extremely important to just, if anything, be aware of what relationships are offering us right now. Because this year that we are in, 2023, the themes that continue to pop up for me are miracles, right? We're going to continue to see miracles, but miracles are found in the dark, right? Miracles are found in the unseen, in the unknown. Miracles are not found in, oh, if I do this and this and this, a miracle's going to come. The whole idea, the whole definition of miracle is that it pops out of nowhere. You had no idea it was coming. It's a miracle. I can't believe this, right? So miracles are going to continue to arise for you if you continue to courageously do it differently. if you continue to change the patterns that you've been doing most of your life, if you continue to love yourself in ways that you never have before, which means that you allow every aspect of you to be there, right? So are a huge part of the 2023 agenda for humanity. Also leaning in, right? Leaning into life as opposed to defending yourself from life, protecting yourself from life, trying to control life. This idea that if you start saying to yourself, I'm going to lean into this, I'm going to lean into this. When you lean into life, you're realizing that one, there's nothing to be afraid of. Whatever shows up, you're going to be okay. You're not going to die. Worst case scenario, you're going to feel. And what you want to do in life is you want to feel. So when you lean into life, right, typically you're leaning into something new. You're leaning into new ways of being, new ways of showing up, new ways of speaking, new behaviors. It's newness. You're leaning into something that typically you would want to lean out of because you believe that you already know the outcome of it based on the ways that you used to do things. If you continue to do things the way that you used to do things, you're only going to perpetuate the version of you that is no longer wanting to serve you. There's a version of you that wants to pop in and start serving you, and it's standing here. But the only way that you can start stepping into that version, whether it's a version that has unconditional love with a partner and a divine partner, whether it's the version of you that has a job that's really fulfilling and bringing you abundance, whether it's this version of you that has the ability to be calm and at peace instead of in anxiety and stress, whatever that version is, it's here. It's just that when life presents itself and you feel like running away from it because you're afraid to jump into it because you don't know how it's going to, what it's going to produce for you, you will fall back. It's easier to go back to that older version. Then the new version's like, girl, boy, dude, let's go. Jump. I've got you. We got so much to do. You got to lean in. You got to lean in. And leaning in for me has looked like not natural. It's not natural what I've been doing. I've been pushing myself into being in ways that I'm not normally used to being in for the sole purpose of doing it differently. Okay, so let me begin. I actually didn't ask my friend if I could speak about him, so probably should have done that, but I'm not going to say his name. You guys won't know who he is. But I met this person a couple months ago. I met him in July as friends, and we just started talking and hanging out as friends. I met him again a couple months later, hanging out as friends. And then I met him again in November. And I'm sharing this not to give you guys my personal story, right? I mean, I'd like to keep things personal in my life, but I do think that there is a big lesson here. So that's why I'm sharing it. So we started hanging out, I guess in November. He lives in a completely different state than me. Great guy. We have a lot in common, and we have a good time together. So we started hanging out a couple of days in November. We hung out a little bit in the end of November, and then he met me in Hawaii. So, backstory about lorieladd. Hey, Phil, what's up, my friend? So good to see you here. I love you. We be doing events together soon. Okay, sidetrack. Okay, so a side note about lorieladd. If many of you guys know that I have been intending my partner to come in, the partner that's going to, walk through life with me until he's no longer walking through life with me, supporting me as I do my tours around the world with my book and my speaking engagements. Somebody that just matches my frequency and that can hold space for me and vice versa. And I just have been waiting and knowing that it'll pop in when it's going to pop in. I also knew that this individual would come in after my book was written and published. However, I knew that I was very, very independent. I do things on my own. I like to do things on my own. I have a very interesting way of living. I decide when I want to do something, when I want to do it, and I will do it. I do not plan very often. And if I plan and you plan with me, most of the time those plans are going to change. So if you're not capable of changing with those plans, don't take it personally. I'm not used to sort of being with other people and having them be impacted in some way by my choices. The other thing that I have been accustomed to doing is my work is everything. My work is everything. It will continue to be everything. I put everything. I put my work first. My like what I'm here to do for humanity and with humanity. And I've always had this fear that if a partner comes into my life, if a man comes into my life and I fall in love with him and we're, off to the races, that somehow I won't be able to do my work. It is a huge belief. It's anchored in my body, it scares the shit out of me. And it's one of the reasons why I think I have been holding off, trying to figure out how I'm going to be balancing that. Well, they're going to live elsewhere and they're going to have some big ranch and I'm going to be able to go and do my thing. And then I'm going to be able to leave, to actually live with somebody freaks the shit out of me. Like, how is that going to happen? Like, I need my space. I need my time, like all kinds of things. And I'm in the future, right? Completely aware of this. I'm not present, completely aware of that. But these are things that have been in my being for 5 years, 6 years, as I've been intending this partner to come into my life. So knowing that, also knowing that I am ready. So I also am acutely aware of the fact that if I am ready for a partner to come in, which I am, I also know that these patterns that I do are going to have to adjust. So I'm not oblivious to my patterns. I'm not unconscious to my patterns. And I sure the fuck am not going to be blaming the individual that comes in for whatever is arising within me when we connect. Okay. I know that whatever is arising within me between him and I has everything to do with what I need to look at, right, in order to be able to hold what it is that I have intended for my life. And if it's not this individual that's the click in, it will be somebody else, but this is all practice. This is why leaning in is so huge. And when I was in Hawaii, it was Phil. Feel Good, I think, is still on here. I don't know if he is or not, but I think he's still here. He said hello. He's the one that said, lean in, Lori, lean in. And it changed everything. My go-to in life. Oh, there he is. How did you get the check mark? My go-to in life is to leave. So if things get really rough, I'll hightail it out. If things aren't going my way, I will hightail it out. I'll just go home, or I'll just leave, or I'll just go back to my work. I always know that I have my work, right? So if I have my work, I don't give a fuck. Like, you leave or I leave, it's not working out. You're annoying me. I'm out. Peace out. Right. And I always have one foot in and one foot out. I'm ready because it's almost like I already know that I have this big, juicy baby right here of my work. So no matter what, I can run. And so I get to Hawaii, and this man comes to visit. Originally, it was intended that he would come, and it was a pretty spontaneous visit. But anyway, he was going to come for like 5 or 6 days. And as we're visiting and we're with each other, I'm really aware when I live my life, you guys, I'm living it in a multidimensional kind of way. I'm juggling my life with many different lenses all day long. Sometimes people have a hard time believing that I do this, or they don't believe me. But when I'm living my life, so I'm hanging out with him, I'm watching multiple different versions of me experience the experience. So I'm watching the part of me that wants to pop up and be a little insecure and just says yes when she really means no. I'm watching the part of me that literally has one foot in and one foot out. So I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. I'm watching the part of me that really wants to go back to my work. And I'm like, shit, I can't do my work right now. How am I going to do my work? I'm watching the part of me that's like, I'm just going to have so much fun. I'm not going to think about there's so many different things that are happening in my head, right? Feeling into the energies. It's not exhausting because I do it all the time. It's just active. It's very active for me. There's always something going on. And this happens even if I don't have somebody in my life. My life is very, very internally active. It's never a dull moment in my life. I'm constantly evaluating, I'm constantly looking at, I'm constantly feeling, I'm constantly observing, I'm constantly in this state of what's happening, what's happening, what's happening. So a couple days go in and I can't remember, we were getting along fine. And something happened where I was feeling like um, I kind of just wanted to pull away and um, I wanted to just go home and focus back on my work. Right. And there was no reason for me to go home. We had the option to go to this other island. A friend of mine was going to let us stay at one of her other places. So we were staying at one place of hers and she was going to let us stay at another place. And I was like, I don't know if we should go. Like, it would be amazing because it's a ranch, it'd be quiet. But I was nervous hanging out with him more because I don't like hanging out with people for long periods of time because I can tend to be moody, right? You call it moody. I don't know if it's moodiness, but I go all over the place, right? Like one minute I'm feeling this way, the next minute I'm feeling this way. Something can annoy me, and then all of a sudden I'm shutting down for 3 hours, and then 4 hours later I'm feeling completely normal again. Um, I don't label it; it just is what it is. It's just I've been this way most of my life. So he's like, I think we should go. It'd be really, really cool. And this would have been on, so he came in on the 26th and we would be leaving on the 3rd, right? So we had already been together quite some time. And my anxiety was raising and my anxiety was getting really, really high. And when my anxiety starts to get high, I know that I am about to be faced with a pattern. Okay. Otherwise, the anxiety wouldn't be high. And this is the part that I think is so important. These are when choices are really important to look at. The reason the anxiety started getting high was if I say yes, let's go to this island and hang out. Well, there's a part of me that's like, holy shit, I'm trapped. I'm with him even longer. Not that he's a bad dude. I loved hanging out with him. This is just a deep insecurity. These are a deep belief system that I have that if I'm trapped with somebody, I won't be able to do my work. Right. And I won't be able to get away. And how am I going to navigate it? And how am I going to juggle it? I'm trying to control everything. I'm trying to see the future. Anxiety rises up because the part of me that has been living my life for so long, these last 5 years doing my work, never had to face this. I never had to look and say, hey, do you want to spend 8 more days with somebody secluded on a ranch where there is nothing? And you doing your work is going to look very different. Anxiety rises. Now, if you're not aware that anxiety is arising, and if you're not aware of why the anxiety is arising, then you may not even be able to see the potential of what's being asked of you. But I'm always curious. I'm always kind of acknowledging and examining what's happening. So the moment we started talking about going to this island together for 8 more days, I just got nauseous. I got nauseous. I got anxious. And I was just like, I remember Phil saying, Lord, you've got to lean in. You've got to lean in. You've got to lean into this. And so I leaned in by just literally voicing what I was feeling. I just voiced to this man, and this man is so incredible. He holds space. He listens. He doesn't take things personally. He's expressive. He's communicative. Um, he doesn't judge me. So it was a really beautiful way to practice this. But I basically just said, this is why I'm afraid of going. This is why I have anxiety. I don't even know really how I feel about you right now or how we are or who we are. If I go, am I going to be able to do my work? I'm afraid that I'll never be able to be in a partnership because I'm always going to want to be running back to my work, thinking that I have to be secluded in order to do my work. And I started crying, and it was just like, I voiced it. A lot of times what we do is we ignore the anxiety. We don't put a We don't put we don't speak to the anxiety, and we push it down, and then we just keep going. You either go or you don't go, right? But there is an ignoring of the actual gift. The gift was the anxiety. The anxiety was the uncomfortableness. The anxiety was, it's time to lean in. Okay, and leaning in is doing it differently, Lori. The old Lori would have reduced her anxiety by just going home. And there's nothing wrong with going home. I could have gone home. It would have been fine. But what I learned the next 16 days with this guy was incredible. What he learned and what I learned by me leaning in was incredible. So the first thing I noticed with this whole thing is that the moment I start to feel anxiety, it is an old version of me kicking and pulling me back to the familiar. And then I have to start to get curious. What does leaning in mean? Well, leaning in means that I would do it differently. Why do I not want to do it differently? Because I'm afraid of the outcome. Well, what's the outcome that you're afraid of? I don't know the outcome. That's what I'm afraid of. What's the worst case scenario, Lori? Well, you go, you don't do any of your work, right? You start literally like talking yourself through all of this and what it looks like. Then I took the pressure off myself. I didn't have to make an answer. I could wait. Granted, we had to leave in a day and a half. So, and this man was so incredible with the way that I travel. The way I travel is I pick up and go. I'll go the day up. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to change my flight and leave today, or I'm leaving tomorrow. And he was capable of being in that with me. But I kept saying, you know what, I know that 2023 is all about miracles. I know it. And just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean the miracles aren't there. This idea, you guys, that when you manifest or when you intend or when you're expecting miracles or when you're thinking about, well, I'm going to move into some new earth or some heaven on earth, that it's going to be comfortable and that it's going to be a walk in the park and that you're not going to have to grapple between the comfortable and the uncomfortable. You're in for a rude awakening. The true process of this evolution, the true essence of shifting out of and into new choices, new ways, new aspects of you is no joke. It's not just like, I'm going to intend something and something's going to pop into my life and bada boom. And if it's hard, it must not be for me, right? If I have anxiety, then it must mean that I shouldn't be going. It's the courageous ones that lean in and say, fuck it, I'm going to go deeper. Wow, this is really making me uncomfortable. There's something here. Wow, I'm really wanting you to go back to those old ways because that feels easier. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to be missing out this year and the next year and the next year and the next year and the next year if you don't start to recognize it, get familiar and get comfortable with the signs of uncomfortableness that pull you into the new. Think about everything that you have ever done when you've started a new sport and you got up to bat for the first time. Were you comfortable? When you sang for the first time, were you comfortable? Maybe some of you would be like, yeah, it was so comfortable the moment I put the hand. But many of us are not comfortable the first time we do something. It's uncomfortable. We're nervous. We're anxious. What's it going to look like? Am I going to be able to hit the ball? Am I going to be able to hit those notes? Right? Am I going to be able to write? Am I going to be able to do what I'm supposed to do in this new job? Like, I don't know, you name it. But the first time you do things, it's not like, oh, this is so easy, right? This is breezy, easy, breezy, cover girl. I've got this. It's the same thing with evolution. It's the same thing with you changing into the new versions of yourself or new ways of being on this planet, which allows you to open to miracles. It allows you to open to more fun and more joy, more presence, more abundance, more love. Because the other thing that was happening to me, so I eventually said, this is an opportunity, because remember, one of the things I teach is that everything is being served to me, by me, for me. I live by that motto as if it's tattooed on my forehead. Everything is being served to me, for me, by me. If I know that, then why is this coming up? This opportunity to go to another island for an additional 8 or 9 days. Why? Because it's gifting me with something. And do I really want to let go of that gift, or do I want to jump in and see what this gift has to offer? I'm going to jump in, right? And so I jumped in. And as I was jumping in, when I said yes, right? I just said yes. Fuck it. Let's go. I'm going to do it. Now, a lot of you may be listening and thinking like, what's the big deal, Laura? You're going to another place. It's going to be a vacation. And to me, it was deep, deep inner work, because I felt like my belief was that I was being pulled further away from my work. I felt like I was being pulled further away from you guys. That's what it felt like. That the longer I go with this man, the more I am being pulled from you guys. The distance gets longer. That's what it felt like. That's what I believed. And that's what has stopped me from living my life. I would rather sit and be secluded and confined to my place, knowing that I am connected to you guys and serving you guys in my highest potential, perhaps, than risk it. And yet we're not here to be confined. We're here to have fun. We're here to do it all. We're here to have partners and do our work and make abundance and be in peace and joy and have fun and travel. We're here to do all of it. It is our limiting beliefs that make us believe that that's not possible. So as soon as I said, yes, I'm going, then the anxiety released. And the next thing that started being shown to me within those 24 hours was, one, I started pulling away from him big time. Like I became not so nice within those 24 hours. There was this unconscious part of me, I think, that was playing out about what was frustrating me about him. You know, I can't believe I'm going to go do this, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just watching that play out. I'm watching that play out. The other thing that came through was how I am not showing up in front of him as all of me. So that started to show up. Why are you not fully being yourself? Now, did I express my anxiety? 1000%, right? Did I share how I want to be in a partnership, but I'm afraid that if I'm in a partnership, I'm going to lose my work, and I'd rather not lose my work, so I just won't get into a partnership? Yep, I expressed all of that. But when it comes to like daily, like, hey, where do you want to go eat, or what do you want to do today, or something like that, I'll always just like, I don't care. What do you want to do? Simple things like that, where it's like, actually, you do care, Lori. Actually, you do want to go here instead. Actually, you do want to do this, but you're just not saying it. Tiny little ways in which I am not honoring myself, right? Seems like it's not a big deal, but it truly is me not being me, right? And you could say, Lori, this is so ridiculous. This is like first world problems. And I would say, yes, it's first world problems. Of course it is. But if we are here to show up in our highest potential in order to make the highest impact on humanity, we have to be able to open our hearts. We have to be able to have compassion and empathy for every single freaking human. If I can't do that for myself, how am I going to do it for other people? If I'm still judging myself and still silencing myself, how the hell am I going to be able to hold space for people that I don't understand, for people that don't see it the same way I do? I think one of the greatest practices that we are being forced to step into is to allow somebody in front of you to have the complete opposite opinion as you, and you stand there and listen, and you don't try to change their minds. I put a post up the other day about past lives. And I did it because I wanted to show us how we all have different views, and how uncomfortable does it get for you if somebody starts speaking a different view than you? Do you feel like debating? Do you feel like proving your point? Do you feel like, do you get angry? Do you unfollow? Like, what do you do? I think that's an extremely important thing for humanity to start to look at. Because the more that we are capable of seeing how we unconsciously move into a divided state, the more we will be able to recognize how to move into a unified state when we all hold different views. This evolution is not about standing in the same views and the same opinions and the same ways of being. It's the opposite. Unifying in this world is about being able to stand in all of this with very differing views and allowing those differing views to be. And I think so many humans have this backward. They're trying to change everybody. They're trying to change their partners, their friends, their coworkers, their neighbors, the person that doesn't understand what they understand. And in that changing, there's one thing about educating, okay, and using your voice, that's great. But if you're trying to make somebody wrong, if you're trying to change somebody into what you are because you believe that yours is the right way, we really need to look at that, right? We really need to start to look at that. And so it comes down to being able to love yourself. And the way that I started practicing these last 3 weeks is I was noticing all of the parts of myself that I silenced. And then I said to myself, okay, can I speak these parts out to my friend, to the guy I was hanging out with? Can I speak them to him? Can I share, can I share, God, today I feel really gross in my body, or God, today I did not speak up and say what I wanted to say about this, or, I noticed that I just allow you to choose where we're going to go eat, blah, blah, blah. I started speaking to these parts, right? I didn't try to love these parts. I don't even know what that means. The only way that I know how to love myself is to allow those parts that I don't want to see to be seen. And the way that I can allow them to be seen is that if I'm by myself, I acknowledge them and I listen to them and I hear them and I feel them. If I'm with somebody else, I voice it. How often do you do that? When you're with somebody else and you're feeling insecurities, you're feeling lack or doubt or fear, whatever it is, how often do you voice those? That is actually loving yourself. If you are with somebody that you feel safe enough to be able to do that with, if you are with somebody that you know is going to come after you because they have a lot of trauma and shadow in their body, then of course it's probably not safe, right? You want to practice this with somebody that actually has the ability to hold what you're saying and not take it personally, right? So we get to the ranch and I have a nervous breakdown the night we get there. Nervous breakdown. I basically freak out because I'm like, holy shit, we're here for 8 days. How am I? And I got this massive download. I actually outlined my second book, and I was like, I need to be alone. I need to download this book. I need to focus. I'm going to lose the whole purpose of this trip. Oh my God, do I need to go home early? This is all like the old Lori, right? The old Lori does things alone. The old Lori writes alone. The old Lori gets downloads by herself. The old Lori, like this is the old Lori showing up. And so I went into the room where he was sitting and I just told him everything. And everything, whether I wanted to share it or not, I just shared it. I just leaned in and said, diarrhea of the mouth. This is what I'm feeling. I need to tell you everything. And it was difficult for him, difficult for me, because when I was saying what I was saying, I knew that that wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. Meaning I didn't want to have it separate. Like, I can't have a man in my life when I'm writing my book. I can't have a man in my life when I'm downloading information. I can't have a man in my life when I'm being called, to integrate and go inward more. I can't, right? So I'm listening to myself tell him like, hey, by the way, I'm probably going to peace out and go and be by myself for the rest of the week. I'm going to go into the other house. I'm going to download this book. I don't want to miss the information. You're amazing, but like, I just can't do this with you. I mean, it was bitchy, to be honest. And he sat there and he was like, well, how, what do I need to go home? How am I supposed to be in this? Like, can I support you in this? He was doing his own work that he had to focus on. So he was trying to like find solutions while also listening to himself and saying, well, if this is the way it's going to go, I'll probably go home. Anyway, we just navigated it for a couple of hours, talked about it back and forth. And I said, what I want to do is just be in flow. Can you be in flow with me? And being in flow with me is not easy. If you can ask Phil Good. It's not easy to be in flow sometimes because I'll I'll feel one thing and then I'll feel another thing, and then I'll feel one thing and I'll feel another thing. But I asked him, I said, can you be in flow with me? Meaning there isn't an answer. Um, we don't need to have an answer. Is that possible? Can we just go to sleep and see what happens in the morning? And he was like, yeah, of course. I'll be in flow with you, because I know that everything changes. I know that. And I know that whatever I'm going through is for me to be able to step into something new. And I'm trying to lean in. So we wake up in the morning and I feel calm. I feel centered. I feel like there's space. I feel like I'm not handcuffed, like I felt like I was handcuffed, like somebody handcuffed me to this guy when nobody did. Right? Just because I'm with somebody for 8 days on a ranch where there is nothing but ranch animals, I feel suffocated. I feel stuck. I feel like I can't do me or be me. And that's a belief, right? That's also the inability for me to speak my truth, right? Part of the reason that I got that frustration and anger when I first arrived is because I'm so used to not speaking my truth to somebody. The reason I'm afraid of not speaking my truth to somebody is I'm afraid that if I speak my truth, they're going to walk away. They're going to think I'm crazy. They're not going to like me, right? They're going to judge me. So I don't speak my truth. And then in not speaking my truth, I just get angry and frustrated with them. Like all of a sudden it becomes their problem, right? And so as soon as I spoke everything to him, and he was so freaking amazing, we woke up in the next morning and we just did our own things. We came together and we came together and we did our own things. So for the next 9 days, it was a really interesting dance for me, because it was the best partner to practice this with. This man was incredible, absolutely incredible how he allowed me to be me. And it's really hard to be all of you and have somebody not judge you, right? Have somebody not tell you that there's something wrong with you, or you need to change yourself, or you're crazy, or, nobody does this, or, why do you keep saying this to me? To be able to be all of you, even when you know that what you're being is fucking Looney Tunes, and have somebody reflect back to you that it's okay. They're going to take care of themselves. They're not going to let you run all over them. They have sovereignty, but they're going to let you be you. They're going to move in a flow state with you together. There's no words for it, because what it does is it allowed me to continue to feel safe being me. So the more that we allow people to just be who they are without taking it personally, yet still holding firm boundaries. He held firm boundaries. This is what I need. If you keep doing this, I am going to leave, right? I understand where you're coming from. This is what I need. Like, these were spoken. So it's not like he just laid over and I walked all over him. Were very firm boundaries of what he needed, very firm boundaries of what I needed. And as silly as this is, we walked through this. We moved through this together. And mind you, we had hardly ever hung out before this. So we had been together for like 12 straight days, and we've hung out maybe 3 days total. So to just jump into some sort of like 24/7 type of experience with somebody like myself that literally goes in 24/7, like all I'm doing is going in. All I'm doing is reflecting. All I'm doing is paying attention to. All I'm doing is observing. And the most important thing in my life is you guys. The most important thing in my life is my service, is my work, is what I'm here to do, is what I'm here to share. So if anything comes in the way that I think is going to pull me out, I am going to repel it in a way. And yet I know that I'm not designed to be alone. So he and I did this beautiful dance, right? Back and forth. And there were days where it was really awesome. And there were days where, it was crunchy and uncomfortable. And I pulled away, and I didn't want him to talk to me. I didn't want him to touch me. It was just like, I just pulled away. And then we talked and worked through it. And then we ended up staying in another place in Hawaii for 4 more days. And it was during those 4 days that I was able to lean in even more. I broke down even more. Breaking down meaning, I remember it was a really interesting conversation we had 2 nights before we were leaving. So energetically, I can feel a lot with someone, but I don't always tell them. Okay. The reason I don't tell people what I'm energetically feeling with them, whether it's their shadow or their unconscious behavior, is because a lot of times, if they're not asking me, it's not mine to share. And many times, if they're not asking me, not only is it not mine to share, but they may not be ready. So with this individual, he was very guarded. I'm very guarded. Not good. One guarded person coming together. That's going to be fun, right? So I already knew that we both had our guards up. I knew that he was very insecure, very insecure. I could feel that he didn't really know how to feel. His feeling state was shut down, like the emotional body, the ability to express emotion and like be in, and like there's an emotional state that is experienced, and sometimes men can't remember how to access that emotional state. They can access the mind, they can access logic. It's very easy for men to access this head space. They can talk and talk and talk, and and it looks like this and it looks like this and it feels like this. I remember asking him a couple times, and I'm like, what does it feel like? And I remember him sitting like, well, it feels like I am free. And like, no, what does it feel like? What are you feeling in your body? Like, it was so hard to get him to feel, right? So the last couple of days, we started to have this conversation one night, and he was frustrated because I wasn't leaning on him and wanting to learn from him in the way that he wanted. He wanted to teach me things. And I had no desire to learn from him, one. And two, I definitely didn't want to learn from him in the way that he kind of presents himself. And when this conversation started happening, that's when the invitation to go inward and to tell him what I felt and saw came in. Because he started expressing his own insecurities. He started expressing how he feels insecure around me. He started expressing how he feels like he has to prove himself around me. And that opened the door for me to say, this is actually how I've felt around you. And this is, I've felt that you have this guard around you. I feel that you're very insecure about who you are. I feel like you are cold, like you don't know how to express emotion. I feel like every time you talk about, these meditations that you want to do with me, et cetera, you're in your head. I can't respond to that. I feel like you're trying to change me. I can't respond to that. Have you lost your mind? You think I'm going to respond to an individual that's trying to, first of all, you can't teach me these things. It's not going to happen. I'm not curious. I'm not asking. But if you want to tell me something, if you want to share things with me, then you need to share them from an embodied emotional state. I will engage from that state. I can't engage from the mind. I just won't. Right. And he was just like in shock because he knew what I was saying. He knew that he wasn't himself. He wasn't showing up as him. He was showing up as this insecure boy that doesn't feel secure in life, that has all this information and knowledge, these feeling states that he's been in, but he doesn't know how to. This is the divine masculine trying to be the divine masculine. He is trying to get his mind and his body to connect and communicate. And he's trying to get the mind to move into the feeling state so he can express how he's feeling, and it was a huge lens shift. And there was this deep awareness of the importance of how you communicate with someone. and the energy behind you. Are you in this mind state trying to communicate with someone and trying to show somebody something, trying to prove to somebody that you're worthy, that you're good enough? An energetic person is going to feel that and be like, sorry, don't want any part of that. But if you come in with this like emotional state of like, this is what it feels like, and this is what I do, and it feels incredible, and then I go and do this, and then my mind does this, then you're in it. You're in that feeling state, right? The divine masculine is a strong, powerful, embodied feeling energy that has a whole lot of knowledge, but it's embodied. So there's a pulse, there's a life to it. You can feel it. And the more that he was able to step into truth, he was literally stepping into his truth. He was able to look at the, thanks, Eric, for that super chat. He was able to look at the shadowy parts of him, the things he didn't like, the parts of him that he was trying to ignore and deny, the parts of him that were loud and playing out the entire time we were together. He finally let that guard down. He like sighed, his shoulders dropped. My shoulders dropped. And then I was capable of looking at how I showed up, that I literally think I know it all. I definitely don't want to be taught. And if you're going to show up, just show up from a feeling state, right? I'm very stubborn. So all these things were showing up for me too, but it's very difficult for me to be with anyone that does not feel, that's not in the feeling state. It just won't happen, you know? But I was aware of it all, and I was aware of how, as we got deeper and deeper into this conversation this night, and we got deeper and deeper, and what was interesting was what we got deeper and deeper into our vulnerability, right? The rawness of who we are, just how we want to show up in the world as ourselves, as our truest expressions. And the only way to get there is by you expressing all the ways in which you are stopping yourself from that, right? Well, I tend to argue a lot. I will defend. I will ignore. I will shut you down. I will zone out. Whatever it is that I do, right? And he will try to take this high perspective. He will hold a firm boundary around himself, a guard. He won't be able to feel whatever that is. Okay. The more that we got deeper and deeper into that, the more that we opened. Obviously, many of you have experienced this, right? You get more and more intimate. You get more and more intimate. You get more and more intimate. And I remember that night. I don't even know why I'm sharing this with you guys. Seriously, it's like I'm talking to freaking my best friend. But anywho, whatevs. At the end of the night, I was sitting there and I could feel, I don't know if this, and I've said to him from the get-go, and I really do believe this. There's this thing around relationship with me where I told myself that whoever comes into my life next, I want to be so present with it that I don't want to have a future around it. I don't want to be like, oh my God, we're in this together. I just want to be in a flow state with this person, right? I just want to be like, let's just be with this and see where it takes us with life. For right now, you are here. Right now, I'm feeling this with you, and there's definitely a comfort in being like, we're going to do life together. We're going to do this next. We're going to do this next. There's a comfort in that. But intuitively, what I'm being called to do is to just stay present with what I'm in and what I'm feeling. And that's it. And really getting clear on what am I feeling right here, right now, without an expectation of what I want from him, what he's going to give me, any of that. And so late that night, we're talking and we're talking and we're talking, and I can hear Phil's voice, lean in, lean in, lean in. I heard his voice, lean in. And I was just looking at him, and I was noticing how he was opening up more and how he was feeling more, and he was just in awe of what he was learning. And I started to recognize that I had an option in that moment, only in that moment, okay? Just in that moment, I had an option to go deeper into feeling him, feeling with him, having feelings for him, or I could pull away. And I was speaking that to him. I was like, I'm so aware right now that I have an opportunity or an openness right now that I can lean into you more or open to you more. It's like an energetic beingness with him, or I could just close back up. And I said, I'm going to just keep opening with you. I'm going to just keep feeling with you, regardless of how you respond, regardless of your past bullshit things that you say to me about how you were in your relationships. They're not bullshit things, but he definitely has been holding stories of how he shows up with women, blah, blah, blah. Live in the past, go for it. I don't. So it didn't matter to me at that moment how he was going to react or how he was going to respond. It didn't matter to me whether he was going to hold an old story, if he was going to be able to show up, if he was going to be able to reflect what I was saying. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered is that I showed up for me and that I opened myself to what I was feeling. That's the only thing that mattered, and that I expressed it. Right? And so when I did that, it allowed him to go deeper. He expressed what he was feeling, right? There's much more of a guard up, I believe, for him. And listen, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to continue to give energy to something that isn't giving me energy back. What I am going to do is stay present with what I'm feeling and continue to lean into what I am feeling until the reciprocation is no longer there. And then it's next. What's next, right? So there's much more of an openness that I have in this, a freedom that I have in this, show me more. I'm curious. I'm going to continue to lean in. I'm going to continue to lean in, and in leaning in, I'm going to voice it. I even said to him the day we left each other, I've never done this in any relationship. I've never been this open, this vulnerable, this authentic, this raw, this just like, this is what I'm feeling. It doesn't matter what happens on your end, even though of course it matters, right? I said to him, I was like, I'm going to continue to lean into this. I'm going to continue to feel into you. I'm going to continue to feel into this. And, if you tend to go cold, you tend to go silent, you tend to do these things. It would be great if you didn't do that this time, right? It would be great if you could pay attention, just be aware. He's like, I'm not going to go silent. I'm not going to do those things, blah, blah, blah. Whether he does them or not, I have no control over. I think one of the greatest gifts that we can remind ourselves of is that you don't have control over anyone, especially if you're in relationship with them. You cannot change someone. And if you're in a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, whatever it is, and you think that you're going to change them or you need to change them in order to be able to show up with them, you need to walk away or you need to just accept. You cannot change people. There is so much suffering that occurs when you try to change someone, or when you think that it's your job to change them because you know better than them. You don't know better than them. You don't. Even when it comes to what's happening on the planet, you don't know better than anyone. There was a moment when you were so asleep that you didn't know a lot of what was going on the planet. There were moments where you were so asleep that you didn't even really know how to express yourself. We've all been there. And so for us to show up in front of somebody else and say, I need you to get here, I need you to be here, it doesn't mean that you don't want them there, but it means that you take full accountability for how you are showing up, what you need. And if you're authentic, if you're vulnerable, if you're raw, if you're showing up as you, if you are starting to balance that divine masculine and the divine feminine within you, which means that you are in flow more often, you are expressing, you are authentic, you are raw, you are feeling, but you're empowered, you're strong, you're confident, you're grounded, right? You're taking care of yourself. You're allowing yourself to be receptive. That's the other thing. This man takes care of me. I've never been with somebody that really takes care of me. I don't even know what that's like. It's very uncomfortable. That's a very wounded masculine energy. right? I am a strong, confident, independent woman. I remember Phil saying to me one time, he's like, if you do that when you're with your partner, it's going to be very demasculating. I was like, what the fuck is demasculating mean? He's like, Lori, you can't do that when you have your partner. I think we were driving and I was telling him how to drive, or I don't know what we were doing, but I remember Phil saying that to me and I was like, what? And during the vacation, my friend said that to me once. He's like, please don't ever do that again. You're demasculating me. And this isn't because he's a man and he should be the man that does these things. It's an energy. As a woman, I want to be taken care of. As a woman, I want the man to do certain things. It feels good. There is a very, very wounded feminine energy going around that is all about, I am woman, hear me roar, and I will do everything for me. I don't need a man. That is a very imbalanced energy, right? There is a balancing of the divine masculine and a balancing of the divine feminine that is occurring within each of us. And every relationship right now is going to give you that opportunity. That's the point of this entire story. I have been living with this really imbalanced masculine energy, trying to balance the feminine energy. And these past 20 something days in Hawaii with this man allowed me to start balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine within me, and vice versa. He was gifted the opportunity to begin to balance the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And beyond whether it works out with us, whether we see each other again, whatever it is that unravels for us, it's not just about that. It's about this evolution in human consciousness. It's about your own personal evolution, your own growth, your own spurts, your own wisdom, your own miracles. And everybody that jumps into your life, that comes into your life for whatever reason, is gifting you the ability to come back home to yourself. They're gifting you the ability to balance the masculine and the feminine. But you have to say yes to it. You have to lean in. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be aware. You have to be the observer, right? Which means that you stop attaching to outcomes. You stop attaching to your beliefs. You just are aware of the outcome you want. You're aware of your beliefs. You're aware of the programs that you continue to do. You are aware of the people that you have in your life, whether you enjoy them or don't enjoy them, feel like you have to have them in your life or you don't want them in your life. You've become acutely aware of the anxiety that arises when you are with someone. You stop blaming people. I never blamed this man throughout the 20 something days we were together. Never. Doesn't mean he didn't annoy me. I got annoyed with certain things. He got annoyed with me. I'm telling you guys, I'm not easy. I'm not. But I didn't blame him. Everything that was happening was mine. Everything that was happening with him was his. Right? Everything is bringing me back into a balanced state of wholeness. And can I take full responsibility for how I showed up? Can I take full responsibility for what it must be like when I go to bed in one state of being and I wake up in a completely other? Or I wake up and I'm just so moody, I want nothing to do with him, and I'm storming out of the hotel with my computer like I'm just going to go do my work. I don't know how long, right? Like, can I hold that way that wants to show up and also how it's impacting him, right? And that he didn't do it to me. Nobody does anything to you. Maybe they hurt your feelings. Maybe they say things you don't like. So you're learning boundaries and you're learning sovereignty and you're learning how to speak your truth. You're learning how to be more of that divine masculine, but you're also learning how to be more of that divine feminine, which is this state of receptivity, this state of being able to express from love, not express from fear. You know? So there you go. I also do not think that we need to be in any relationship that is abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, um, mentally abusive. No way. Not at all. So, all of this, you guys, to say that this coming year is a year for beautiful relationships, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family members, whether it's with your partner. Um, Stay open to them. It's probably not going to look like the way you thought it's going to look. It's probably not going to show up in the way that you think it's going to show up. It's probably going to challenge you, push you, require you to lean in. If you're not leaning in to relationships that are showing up for you right now, then it's quite possible that it's just old patterning that's continuing to play out. You want to do things differently. Thank you, Sarah, for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Do things differently. Get uncomfortable. Let the anxiety arise for the sole purpose of redirecting you. Let it redirect you. I'm not in any way, shape, or form perfect in relationships. It's probably my most crunchy place to be in the human journey. But I'm in with it all. I take full responsibility, and I am constantly looking inward. I never ever let a moment go by that I am not recognizing what it has to offer me. I was with my friend, and I was trying to tell him how I'm feeling all day long. I don't need to go into these meditative states because I'm seriously, legitimately all day long feeling aware, active in my body, conscious of my mind, looking at my limiting beliefs. I mean, it's so loud in here. And I can quiet it at any moment. Thank you so much, Faye, for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it. So be you. Be you in every relationship that shows up. Be you even more. Be even more authentic. Be even more vulnerable. Be even more raw. Let the other person be who they are. Stop trying to change people. Don't take abuse. Stand up for who you are. Pay attention to what is allowing you to balance out the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Because that's what's happening with all of us. That's why relationships are so important right now. We're balancing that out within our own bodies. You balance it out within your own body before you go and find a partner, and you want them to balance it out. That's what we typically do. We try to go and find a partner. We're like, I want a really masculine man that's going to be assertive and aggressive. It's like the only reason you want that is because it's not being felt within your own beingness. You're not taking care of yourself, Lori. You're not being the firm, aggressive, assertive energy in you, taking care of you. And the divine feminine in you is not allowing and being receptive. So instead of looking outward for it, start looking at how everything is showing up to redirect you inside so that you can find that balance. Okay? Yeah, we look for what we are missing within ourselves. I love it. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you so much. Another episode of Untangled. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, hit the like button, and share it. Share it to other people that may resonate with this message right now. This is going to be a theme that's going to go on in 2023. So share it. And also two quick little, whatever they're called, announcements. One, I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, February 12th. I will be doing a workshop. So you can just go to the Conscious Life Expo website, and I will be there. You can meet me live. I'll be signing books. I'll be there all weekend, but my workshop is on Sunday, February 12th at 8 p.m. California time. And there are still tickets available for my European book tour in March. We have tickets left for Ireland, for Germany, and then we just added Sweden. So that the Sweden event will be up in about a week. So pay attention to that if you're curious. It's on my website. It's also down below in the description. I'll keep talking about it as well. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with others, and let the games begin. I love you. I don't know what town yet in Sweden. Okay, lots of love, you guys. See you soon. Hopefully, I'll see you in LA and in Europe. Mwah.